Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Private Ashley Chivers. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. You may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Thomas Shannon Joseph Hooper. Thomas Hooper was born on the 19th of August 1913 in the Melbourne suburb of South Yarra. He was the youngest son of John and Mary Hooper. His father died when Thomas was 2 years old, and his mother died when he was 11. Thomas went on to work as a brass moulder, working in foundries or with engineering companies to make the moulds into which molten metal was poured. In 1938, he married Dorothy Turner Abbott, and the following year, a daughter, Barbara, was born to the couple. Thomas Hooper enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 28th of June 1940 at Town Hall in Melbourne. Allocated to a training battalion, Private Hooper began a period of training in Australia. In December, he was posted to reinforcements to the 2nd 5th Battalion. In early April, Hooper was found absent without leave and was admonished and fined as punishment. This was to be the only blemish on his military record. On the 8th of April, Hooper embarked at Sydney, bound for overseas service. Private Hooper joined his unit on the 18th of June 1941 as it prepared to take part in the invasion of Syria and Lebanon. The campaign aimed to prevent Nazi Germany from using the Vichy French-controlled Syrian Republic and French Lebanon as bases for attacks on Egypt. The final major operation of the Australian campaign in Syria and Lebanon was the climactic Battle of Damour, which sealed the defeat of the Vichy French forces. A large town about 30 kilometres south of Beirut on the Lebanese coast, Damour was the French administrative capital. The Damour River, 3 kilometres south of the town, was the last major natural obstacle that had to be crossed before reaching Beirut. Having already captured the heights overlooking Damour on the south bank, a plan developed by Major General Arthur Allen, commander of the 7th Australian Division, involved encircling French positions at Damour. The operation began on the night of the 5th of July, with troops moving into position to cross the Damour River in 2 places. They attacked French positions on the northern side early the following morning. By nightfall, both positions were in Australian hands. In the early hours of the 7th of July, units including Hooper's 2nd 5th Battalion moved northwards, outflanking Damour to the east. At Dorea, companies of the 2nd 14th swung west to advance on Damour from the east, while the 2nd 3rd and 2nd 5th Battalions continued north to cut the road to Beirut north of the town, which they accomplished on the 8th of July. In the south, the 2nd Pioneer Battalion and elements of the 6th Divisional Cavalry Regiment were advancing along the axis of the coastal road. By 2 a.m. on the 9th of July, the pioneers were advancing into the southern outskirts of the town, and at 4 a.m. a patrol from the cavalry were able to drive right through. The enemy had withdrawn. The Australians immediately began pushing along the coastal road towards Beirut. The Vichy French commander, General Henry Dentz, however, had sought an armistice, and at 1 minute past midnight on the 12th of July, a ceasefire came into effect, ending the campaign. This victory, however, came too late for Private Thomas Hooper, who was killed in action on the 10th of July, 1941, 2 days before the ceasefire. Initially buried near where he fell, he was later reburied in Beirut War Cemetery, where his remains lie today under the inscription, "Greater love hath no man." He was 27 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Thomas Shannon Joseph Hooper, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.